Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again here tonight to Virtual Racing Network. We are at Michigan, home of what, 1,000 lakes, a million lakes? I don't know. They got a lot of lakes. Either way, we're here at Michigan International Speedway for another great race. I believe it's international. Either way, it's Michigan. That's all that really matters. We have 75 laps going to be on the books. Of course, I am your host here tonight, Charles Wooten in the booth. And, of course, later on here tonight, we will have James Thurston in the booth with a sprained ankle, so he won't be driving. He is going to complete 2 laps just so he can be credited with points, but then he will be helping out of the car and coming in the booth to be the race expert here for tonight's race. Again, we have just under 5 minutes, actually just under 4 minutes left on the clock before we go into qualifying. He will qualify, I'm sure. I don't know, say that he may not qualify. He may just start at the back, complete those 2 laps, pull it in, and then he's going to make the trip up here to the booth. That being said, though, I expect to see some good racing here. We got 16 drivers on a queue for tonight's race. They've all traveled out here to Michigan here on iRacing.com. There is Victor Lane right there on your screen, and I'm sure we'll see somebody sitting in the middle of Victory Lane here in, probably about an hour and a half. It's usually roughly what it takes for these races to get finished, minus, of course, your pre-show and post-show before and after the race. We want to thank everybody for tuning in here tonight. I know it's a very late night, but we thank everybody for coming out here with us and tuning in for tonight's race. Again, we know there's a lot of places you could be, but you definitely won't be disappointed. You're going to have some great racing, and of course, that's what everyone's out there for. They want to get that good racing in, some good racing action, so make sure you let us know in the chat who your pick is. So we got Triple G Motorsports. I don't know about Race Expert. Well, that's the title we'll give him. I'm sure you... I can't remember who the account owner is for Triple G Motorsports, but I'm sure you know him very well. If that may be James yourself. I don't know. I don't know who's behind the account. I can't remember if you've said. But either way, he's going to be in the booth here in just a minute. We got 1:50 left on the clock. Which means, of course, that it is time to do what we like to do. You got to go to your personal concession stand, get you something to drink, something to snack on. It is that time. Again, grab you something to drink, something to snack on here for the last minute and a half. We'll come back with about 30 seconds to go and let you know who the fastest driver is in practice and go over all of that great information here for tonight's race. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Last 30 seconds left on the clock here for this practice session. Your fastest driver here at the moment is Jeff Stabnow. Right behind him, though, with a 39.206 is going to be Dan West Jr. This last half of the season, Dan West Jr. and Jeff Stabnow have been very fast in qualifying. So it'll be interesting to see how they stack up against this competition here tonight as the countdown to green is over. Let's get your main bar up on the screen. Checkered flag is waving for practice. Last 5 seconds are wrapping up. Coming in to tonight's race, the only safe man going into this Thanksgiving holiday break is going to be Brian Barnes. As of right now, anyway, That being said, that is of right now. Somebody else could potentially get a win. If Brian Barnes gets another one, he's obviously going to be secure. And there we go. Triple G Motors is James Thurston. I was thinking it was, and he is not going to qualify here tonight, so we are going to go ahead and get James Thurston into the booth, as if we can find him. There he is in the top. He's above us in chat. There we go, James. You got a copy. Uh-oh, James Thurston, you got a copy? Well, I'm sure we'll get him here in just a minute. We'll go ahead and mute his mic for the moment. We're going to drop down to the drivers here, as we do have some out on the track. And some connection issues going to be going on here for the 73 of Dale Windenberg, as he is the lone driver out on the track here at the moment. Oh, again, we'll get James there. James, whenever you can are getting the mic queued up, let us know. Just say anything, and we'll open your mic and get you go. All right, now we got him there. So we had that mic muted, just in case any mic issues do happen. We've had them ourselves, but we do have you on the mic, and I'm expecting a good race here. 16 drivers, like that right there. It's not a huge amount, but for this late in the season, with like 4 races to go, it's actually picked up more than it has gone down.
Yeah, most definitely. The last couple races, Phoenix race was a fun race to watch. We had some issues come up, so we weren't able to finish that race, but the tail end of that looked good, and for a mile and a half here tonight, this should be a good race. Glad to see. Wish it was 17 cars competing, but we'll come join you in the booth.
Definitely, we do this all the time by ourselves. We don't mind doing it, but having someone in the booth is always nice. Obviously, you would like to be on the racetrack, but it does half the load for us, so this is kind of a nice break for us, because we get you here in the booth for this last race, and we are actually off for the next 8 days. That is like unheard of here on the channel. But qualifying going to be done here for Dale Windenberg, and he's the only one that's come out on this track so far.
Yeah, I haven't had the pleasure of racing against Dale, so it'll be fun to see how he handles this track out here. With the clear skies, I'm not sure if the track temp's going to drop down. I think people are just waiting to see what's going to get thrown out there and then put their best lap down.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you there. I think they're just waiting, as it looks like John Ottenbacher is going to go ahead and try to throw down a lap here, so we'll pull up your qualifying information in the number 89 Walls Beard Ball Machine. But I want to keep my eyes on Jeff Stabdale, and you've been racing with him. Dan West Jr.
Rocket Man.
Yes, Rocket Man Dan. He has come out of nowhere and had some really good qualifying runs, and really good runs for that matter. He just hasn't had the finishes. Something always seems to happen. He didn't get that finish that I think he deserves.
Yeah, and this is the kind of track that plays right into his strength. I look for him to be a definite player towards the end of this race.
Well, I do as well, and he is in the playoffs here as well, or the chase, whatever you want to refer to it as. Obviously, yourself in there right now, so coming out of this not racing, you'll definitely need to get a win. But Brian Barnes has a win, so he's sitting comfortable going into the holiday break. As a driver yourself, if you can get a win, if you're one of these 8 drivers, Brightsman, Frazier, White, Stabnow, West, Paulson, obviously yourself can't get the win here tonight, but if you're one of these that can get the win here tonight going into the Thanksgiving break, how much better are you going to eat that turkey? Is it going to taste any better?
Oh, that turkey's going to taste real good going into it if you can get a win out of this tonight. It's funny, it's just a sim, but and there's no money on the line for this, so it's not like the real boys out in the Xfinity series. But I'm telling you, the pressure is still there. You still want to race against your peers. You still want to beat your peers, and knowing that there's only going to be 2 more races after this, you want to get that race locked up so you can relax for the holidays.
Yeah, you definitely do want to relax for the holidays, and getting the win is a good way to do that. Obviously, we'll be off next Thursday from this the Truck Series, and next Monday. So I was kind of shocked. I figured they'd be off this Monday and Thursday, but it's going to be Thursday and next Monday. But either way, they get a little bit of a break there, as we're going to jump over to Chris White, who is out on the track now as well. Steven Paulson out there. Again, only a handful of drivers. And a new paint job there for the 83 of Chris White, who is in the top 4. He's safe right now, but he is only ahead of Jeff Stabnow by 2 points. That is not a very comfortable spot to be.
No, and I think it's going to take 4 wins to make it. I don't think anybody's going to make it on points this round. I think we're going to have 4 different winners, and you're going to have to win one of these 4 races.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And Chris White, while we're watching him on the track, he's another one of those that puts in good runs. He's currently 3rd fastest here in qualifying, but something seems to happen that just does not go his way in the race. He gets caught up in somebody else's mess. It seems to happen more often than not. So, you got to clear that and just forget about that last race and race this one. How difficult that is that as a driver to, get that mistake out of your head you made, or, you've had 2 races in a row where you've been caught up in somebody's mistake. How hard is that to just put that out of your mind and focus at the race at hand?
It can be challenging, but with these guys, you got to put it behind you real quick. All of us have raced with each other week in and week out, so we know what each other's tendencies are, and if there is something, we just got to shake it off and show up for the next race. The problem is as we all know, this is the playoffs. You're not going to get much opportunity, and these 4 tracks, Phoenix, this one, I think we've got Iowa coming up, or another relative short track. And then I forgot what the 4th race is, but they're all very different disciplines. So it's not like we're all going to 4 different short tracks. So if you have a bad race, you got to shake it off and come back and practice for the next one, because it's going to be a different discipline.
Yeah, it definitely is. Every track's different out here, and obviously finishing with Homestead, Miami, that is a beast in itself that you have to try to tame. Currently looking here, we got 2 minutes left on the clock. Is Casey Tillman out there? We'll go over to Jeff Stabnow, who's out on the track, also with a new-looking paint job. Very odd to see Jeff in a blue paint job.
I was watching him earlier, and it could be my trading paints that was off, but I was noticing he was in his normal reddish.
Well, we may have to reload trading paints to us. It looks like he ran out of his normal paint there and tried to, Richard Petty that car. But it is blue, so we will take a look and see. We'll refresh trading paints. So the car go white here for just a little bit. But Sean Bright's been out on the track, and just like that, Jeff Stabnow takes it to the top with a 39-113. Ottenbacher right behind him, followed by Vining, White, and Tillman. I would expect to see fast times here. Brian Barnes out on the track. Going to be interesting to see how he does after getting that win last week.
Yeah, it's funny. We gave him a hard time last week after qualifying on pole at Phoenix, because he usually likes to run at the back of the field and work his way up. Now that he's got the win, we may see him do that again tonight and decide to run through the back. He enjoys going through the field.
He definitely does. So yeah, anytime you see him qualifying, it's interesting because he does not typically qualify. He is qualifying here tonight, so we'll see where he does. I know it's going to be in the top 5. At least I'm pretty confident in that. As we'll see here momentarily. But Dan West Jr., 3rd fastest so far with a 39-139.
Yeah, you can throw a blanket over the top 3 right now. Even with Seth out there, it's going to be a tight start to this race. What's been interesting the last few races is the long green flag runs that we've had. And so, with the exception of Phoenix, with the chaos that was at the end of that race, we've been running some long green flag races. So these guys are not going to want to lay back. They're going to want to stay in contact with the leaders and not count on that caution to save us.
Yeah, and I'm curious. This is, of course, Michigan, so long straightaways. How much of a draft is going to be a factor? It's a 2 mile track. It's not like Talladega or Daytona where it's a super speedway, but I would imagine you will see some people kind of veering down the track trying to cut some of that draft off some of their competition here tonight.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the tire wear is like. Unfortunately, I did not get any practice in it, so I don't haven't. It's been a long time since I've been on this track in the Xfinity, especially in a fixed car. But people will be darting down towards the start-finish line, cutting as much of that track off as possible.
Yeah, definitely looking to see that. Is Jeff Stabnow, of course, going to be your pole sitter here. I absolutely love how they sit on pit road here as these cars are turned sideways. It's just one of the coolest things you can see. More and more tracks are starting to do.
Yep.
And speaking of that grid, we'll go ahead and list off your order for tonight's race. We don't have the grid in the overlays yet. We are working on that, but it's going to be Jeff Stabnow and John Odenbacher are going to be your front row here for tonight's teammates. Going to be battling for the lead, as we do have Jeff's new paint job, followed by Dan West Jr., Seth Frazier, I do believe. And then Sean Brightsman, Chris White, Casey Tillman, Dale Winterberg, Steve Paulson, Brian Barnes, James Thurston, Ray Fournier, Frank Karras, Scott Hutchinson, Dana Rogers, and Dan Stuzzi will be your lineup here for tonight's 175 lap event. I've still got the 125 lap event on my brain from the other night. And hopefully we haven't lost James there.
No, I'm still here. I'm getting in the car, getting ready to do my my lap, and then park this thing.
That's right. I did forget you were going to take those 2 laps around this track, so we'll let you do those laps. And so we get a little bit of an in-car perspective here as Jeff Stabnow getting ready to take the green here in a 1 lap. I don't think we'll take 2 since it's such a big track. Let's actually zoom out a little bit here if we could and watch them get ready. The lights are off, so we are getting ready to get this thing going. And I'll go ahead and mute my mic in here, and when I see you pull in the pits, I will unmute my mic and yours. That way you can get the countdown from them and not having to listen to me as well. So
Sounds
we will
good.
get you back here. All right, so we're muting that so he can get his lap or 2 in here as we are getting ready to get this race started. Jeff Stabnow, John Odenbacher going to be on row 1 here for tonight's race. Dan West Jr. going to be hanging in there 3rd place with Seth Frazier right behind him, or beside him technically, in the 32 machine. Can Jeff Stabnow pick up the win here tonight? Well, the time will tell. The pace car getting ready to dive off into the pits, and we are about to light these candles and get this party started here tonight. There it is, a pace car diving off. All right, strap those belts in, green flags out, and we are racing in Michigan for 75 laps, ladies and gentlemen. You are in the 14. Jeff Stabnow going to be out front leading this race so far, as you're going to have the 55 of Dan West Jr. going to go to his inside of John Ottenbacher. Ottenbacher going to lose a spot quickly as Seth Frazier also going to be dropping back probably 1 spot, as he may have James Vining trying to get by him on the inside, but it's not going to happen. But the 46, Sean Brightsman, the other teammate to those 2 up front. Mark Walls, the 4th and final teammate, not here tonight. So, unfortunately, he is not going to be here. And interesting, Chris White coming from the pits. He did not make the grid, so he is having to start from the back of this field. And he is one of your chase contenders in 4th place at the moment, but that is going to hurt him quite a bit. As Brian Barnes also already coming down pit road way early here in this race. Not sure what's the culprit there, but something not right. He's coming down pit road. Back to the front of the field we go. The Jeff Stab now as you have Dan West Jr. in that 55 machine tracking him down here in early into this race. Well, the question is, who's going to win this race? I don't know. I know we got a lot of people out there watching in chat. Let us know who your pick for tonight's race win, or if you're just tuning in because you like racing or you just like listening to me talk. Let us know you're out there in chat. Though we love to hear from you here in the chat. There, we'll definitely talk to you here. As looks like James Thurston is bringing it down to pit road, so we'll be getting him back in the booth here momentarily as he's going to park it right there. So we'll go ahead and unmute our mic here. And there we go. You are back as we just unmute you right as you say I'm back, so that is perfect timing. This is starting to be a good little battle here between Jeff Stabnow and Dan West Jr. as them two have kind of checked out from the rest of this field. Not going to say by a long distance, but about 6 car lengths.
Yeah, the two of them will get hooked up, and I would imagine the two of them will run nose to tail for a few laps and try and get some distance on the rest of the field. Save some tires.
Yeah, you definitely want to save tires here. I've only been on this track a handful of times, but maybe it's my driving style. But it seems like this track eats up tires. But again, that could be the way I was driving the car. And I know for a fact, we were talking to John Ottenbacher a little bit earlier, who's currently running in, I believe, yes, 3rd position in that 89 machine. He said you get about 7 laps or so, and these tires are pretty much junk.
Yeah, that's pretty typical for this fixed setup, especially here. I'm not sure what the track temperature is. I'll have to look into that. But if I remember correctly, the issue where the tires really start to play in is on the exit of 4, and just making sure you can get a good run off of it and maintain that speed. If you have to lift a little bit too much, it just kills you down the front straightaway.
Yeah, you definitely do not want to lose momentum here. You know, like we said earlier when we were talking, this isn't technically your super speedway kind of track. However, momentum is going to be a big factor. If you lose that momentum, it's going to knock you back a few spots. Good news for these drivers here, as right about now, you have the front 2 that have kind of separated. Then you have 2nd and 3rd there. And if you go a little further back there to 5th and 6th, 5th of James Zanny kind of by himself, Casey Tillman and Sean Brightsman. So they're kind of pairing off here 2 by 2 at the moment, like they're trying to get onto the arc right now. So they're just in groups of 2. There's not a big amount of cars anywhere on this track.
Yeah, and I'm not sure draft is going to play that much of a key. You really can't get close enough and to where like on a Talladega or anything. So it's really all about momentum here.
Yeah, and of course, that looming question is right as we go back to the front. Dan West Jr. going to take the lead from Jeff Stabnow. But that looming question that kind of hovers over every race, whether it's a real-life race or a sim race here, is how many cautions are we going to have, and how is it going to affect the outcome of this race? Obviously, if we have a caution, there's Jeff Stabnow and Dan West Jr. both getting really loose. If we have a caution late in the race with 5 to go, we're going to go to green, white, checker. But it's that mix-up. Do you want to see a couple of cautions to regroup the field? If you're further back in the field, probably. If you're out front dominating, you probably don't.
No, if you're up front, you definitely do not want to see a caution come out, especially this time of year with the playoffs looming. You've got some drivers that realize that you only have a couple more races. Jeff, Dan, Sean, John, Chris, all those guys are going to want to, and Seth, those guys, if we get a late race caution, look for some fireworks in those closing laps.
Well, definitely. And again, so much on the line. Honestly, the way these tires are wearing out. We're 9 laps in, so we're just a handful of laps past what they are considering the point these tires are junk. So they may want to see a caution, every 20, 30 laps or so. While that is still way past the point of 7 laps, it's not enough. If you had one every 7 laps, obviously it's going to be a long night. So I would say every 30 to 40 laps, they're probably going to want to see a caution. That'd be about one caution, maybe two, as Jeff Stadnow gets way loose, and that's why they probably want to see those cautions here and there.
Yeah, it's been interesting since probably a couple builds back. I remember these Xfinity cars were like dump trucks on these tracks, just super, super tight. Now all of a sudden they are very, very loose after about that 7-8 lap mark. And that's been consistent on just about every track we've raced on in this fixed setup, which is, I enjoy. I enjoy a loose car just as much as the last guy, but you definitely gotta be careful with that throttle coming off at 2 and 4.
Yeah, throttle control kind of be a lot of factor here in this race. And we're starting to see some of these guys that qualified good slide back a little bit. Jeff Stabnow, John Ottenbacher, Sean Brightsman, and we do have some people on pit road as well. Dale Windenberg is on pit road right now. Chris White, I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe you might have heard over radio what happened. He missed the grid and had to start from the pits. Luckily, he didn't go a lap down, though.
Yeah, him and Brian are definitely looking for a caution just so they can get caught back up to the field. I tell you, the person I'm kind of watching is Sean. He's sneaky. He's very quiet in what he does, and next thing you know, he's caught up to you and all over your rear bumper. And he's definitely putting down some good laps right now. Some of the fastest laps of the field.
Yeah, he definitely is. We refer to him as kind of that sleeping ninja. Meanwhile, when I refer to his paint job, I call it the Banana Mobile, but he sneaks up on you like a little ninja. I don't know how he does it, in that, like, really technically now is almost a safety yellow color. I mean, it's bright as all get out, but he sneaks up on you like a ninja. So I would definitely like to know how he does it. As he's trying to work over James Thurston right now in that 333 machine to get in to 5th position, but it's just not working out. But I think he's going to get him here going into the corner.
Yeah, and sadly, that's not James Thurston that's driving that 333 car, by the way.
Oh, sorry, James Vining. Well, I got Thurston.
Oh,
I got
John.
you. Yeah, there we go. We got John Hotbarker going in the grass, and I've got too many James going on around here. Here's a James Vining. My apologies. As we're so stoked to have, stoked. Well, I can't even talk tonight. So psyched to have you here in the booth. I can't talk or get names right. But my apologies, James Vining.
Not a problem.
James, but yes, that is Vining in the 333. And obviously, Brightsman did finally get by him. But Ottenbacher, a good save for him. Obviously, he did decide to go mow the grass there a little bit, but keeps the car in one piece.
Yeah, that's why I've got a strong feeling this might go green all night tonight. Michigan is one of those tracks. The back straightaway has a lot of asphalt available. You got all that grass, and really, when you lose it off these corners, you're going into that area. And as long as you don't stop on the racing surface or make contact with anybody, the caution's not going to come out. So there's a lot of runoff here. So I would not be surprised if we go green all night tonight.
Yes, and speaking of that, let's go up to the aerial cam, of course, brought to you by Seams Ford out of Corpus Christi, Texas. And you can just see this runoff. Right here's where you're talking about. This is the front stretch. That grass, obviously since it's a sim, if you're in the grass, it doesn't see you as a threat. You're not going to hurt yourself or anybody else. Although you might hurt their pride a little bit if you get them. But and they get involved in a wreck, they're not going to be happy about it. This is what you're talking about. We're in this aerial game here, and there is a huge runoff. Anything below that white line, for everyone that's out there watching, that's probably, 8 cars wide? You think? That is a lot of space.
It is a ton of space. I've been out there many a times. The nice thing, I'd rather lose it there than on the front straightaway, because you can pick up some damage going across that grass. Not to mention, it's a lot tougher to recover. to get back on, and then you've got dirty tires that you got to deal with. So, if given the choice, I'd rather get loose off of 2 than 4.
I would too, as Dan West Jr. is going to smack the outside wall in the corner. And I'm with you. I would much rather go off track right where he's at on the backstretch because, we say it's mowing the grass when they go through there or doing landscaping. Landscaping and mowing the grass is a precision thing. It cuts it nice and neat. When you go through that grass, it's more like taking a 9-iron and just whacking all over the place. Is what it's more like. And this car that splitter at that front can get destroyed very easily, and you can do some heavy damage to the car. So you definitely do not want to go through that grass.
Well, and it's a lot tougher to control the car down there too. To get control of the car when you're on the grass, and your first instinct is to get back on the throttle, try and get back up to speed so you're not losing track position, and that's the worst thing that you can do when you're on that grass.
It definitely is the last thing you want to do is get there, and then you get that grass on your tires, and it takes several laps to get going. But look at this battle going on here between Jeff Stabnell, Sean Brightsman. They've got a nice little team battle going on. James Vining trying to get into that little mess as well. But teammates battling back and forth. Casey Tillman 1 lap down, but he's holding his own against Seth Frazier.
Yeah, he just came out of the pits about 4 laps ago, so that's a prime example of what 4-lap tires will look like compared to 18-lap tires that the leaders are all on. So he's running a good second faster than the rest of the field.
Yeah, and like you said, fresh tires is going to be a huge factor. So I don't think, unless somebody is stuck in Las Vegas and wants to make a huge gamble and try to win, I don't see anybody not coming down during a caution. I don't care how late it is. If you have a green-white checkered, maybe. But if you have, I would say, 5+ laps to go in this race and a caution comes out, I'm coming down for tires.
Yeah, I would say even on a green-white checker, if you got 5 laps, you're coming down. The field is relatively small, and tires just make that much of a difference. It looks like teammates between Sean and Jeff are really starting to put some pressure on each other. Sean's just been running some dynamite laps and is probably anxious to get around Jeff, and it looks like he did.
Yeah, and it's been a long time since I've been on this track behind the wheel anyway. Is there a line here that eats up your tires a little bit more? Do you want to pin, if you want to wear somebody's tires out faster, and this sounds bad that you're doing this to your competition, but it's part of racing. Do you want to pin them up to the high side, or do you want to pin them down to the bottom to make them have to drive that car a little bit more and wear out those tires?
If I got somebody that's past me, I'm going to make them pass me to the inside. Getting on throttle on corner exit, as we've already seen off of 2 and 4. When you're on the inside and you're trying to make that pass, your tendency is to get on that throttle early so you can clear them. And as we've seen, you get on that throttle a little bit too much, and the rear wants to become the front. So at this point of the race, when you're on the worn tires, you're not necessarily running up against the wall like a Darlington or a Kansas, but you're definitely running that middle groove and forcing them to go low.
They definitely are. And I am curious. We did see Brian Barnes come down pit road, but I'm not showing an actual time for him, but he does have 2 less laps on his tires. Casey Tillman obviously came down as well, but nobody else has come down pit road so far. I'm not even sure what the fuel mileage is here tonight, but we know it's well over what the tires want to go.
Oh, most definitely. I'm curious if Sean's, based on the pace that he's running right now, my guess is it's going to be possibly a 2-stop strategy. I'm not sure they can get to that 37, 38 lap mark that they would need to do to make it a 1-stop race. Sean's been putting down some monster laps, so my guess is that he's not in a fuel mileage state.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you there. I don't think he is. Sean Brightsman, so quick. no matter where he goes. The question is, does anybody have anything for Dan West Jr. here? And that's what I'm kind of curious, because he got into the outside wall about 10 laps ago or so, maybe about 8 laps ago, really. And it has not slowed him down at all. He has got about a 20 to 25 car lead over Sean Brightsman. However, Seth Frazier and Jeff Stabnow he was pulling away from. Is he going to be able to pull away from Sean Brightsman, or is Sean Brightsman going to start reeling him in?
Sean's been, on average, I've been keeping track of the times, and Sean's been about 0.2 faster laps. So Sean has been moving up, even trying to get around Jeff and Seth. He definitely has the fastest car. It's possible that he conserved his tires in the early run and didn't abuse them early on, and is paying the dividends of it now. But he's definitely closing in on him.
He definitely is. And we're going to have Seth Frazier coming down pit road as well as John Ottenbacher. So Ottenbacher and Frazier coming down on pit road to complete their first stop here on lap 25. So there you go. They're going to come
and here
down.
Comes Dan.
And Dan coming down as well.
And Jeff.
So 25 laps, make it another 25, we'll go to 50, and then they'll be good to go on fuel from that point on.
Yeah, so they're definitely doing this as a two-stop and right down the middle, 25, 50, and be there at the end. Sean did stay out a lap, so he'll get an extra bonus point for leading a lap. And it'll be interesting to see if he goes more than 2 more laps. He's got to be running attempting to do a one-stop strategy, because you're giving up too much time right now to go much beyond the 25 lap mark.
Yeah, and he is not. He's pulling it down, and I was curious if he could do that and make it on fuel. Even if he could, if you're going in 2 stops versus 1, your tires are going to be a lot fresher anyway. So, fresh tires versus only having to do 1 stop, I think I would honestly take the tires. Just because we've seen how Casey Tillman was able to pull away from a lead lap car with just fresher tires, but Sean Bright's going to have problems on pit road.
I think it was the California race a few weeks ago where he did it on a one stop and made it to the end. I'm not sure if it was California or not, but I was impressed at how he did it. There was no way I was going to be able to do that. But if you're up towards the front, if you're one of the front runners, one of the top 4 when this first pit cycle, you can probably get away with doing that because you've got the track position. I was way back in the middle of the field, a good 20 seconds back from the leader, so there was no way I could do a one stop and survive. I had already lost 20 seconds, but if you're up there with the leaders and you attempt that, you've got a 20-second additional cushion on everybody. So, but it looks like everyone's going to be doing this as a one-stop. The only person that hasn't pitted yet is Ray Frenier.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering why Ray hasn't. And actually, Brian Barnes, he hasn't come down technically. He's 2 laps sooner. He has come down pit road.
This is true, yep.
But it was quite a while ago, so I'm curious if he did that on purpose to come down there 2 laps after starting the race, if that was something wrong with the car, and it might have been, because he's coming down pit road again here, and it looks like Ray Fournier is going to come down as well.
Yep. So it's definitely a minimum 2-stop strategy for everybody.
Yeah, 2 stops for everybody on the track, and of course pit stops underway as he just passes your car sitting on pit road there. So they haven't even towed it to the back for you. They're expecting you to come back. So you may have forgot to tell them you were eating some ice cream, but for anyone that doesn't know that reference, you need to go watch Days of Thunder. But probably one of the greatest racing movies of all time.
Definitely one of my favorites.
And if you don't know what it is, just go watch it. That being said, Dan West Jr. is going to cycle back to the front of this field as we're on lap number 30 here at the moment. And it won't be long before we're at the halfway point, and then beyond that, we'll be in the closing laps it is going to go very quickly here tonight if we continue with this caution free.
Indeed, I'm not sure what happened to Sean, but that pit stop definitely hurt him. He was just about a second, and that was a 30-second longer stop than what he had anticipated. Looked like Dan had a total pit lane of about 39 seconds, and Sean was on pit lane for 42. So all that work, and now he's got to make it up. It's so easy to. I didn't see what happened to him, but my guess is that he slid through the stall. And it's so easy on these worn tires on a hot track.
Yeah, he did. We caught him there. He slid through it, had to back up. And another thing, I don't know if this track is one of them. We'd have to look at it closer. But a lot of these tracks will vary. Some of them will be concrete or asphalt in the pits. Like, majority our tracks are asphalt. And then the pits may be concrete or something.
And it is here.
Yeah, so going for those one kind of texture of to another, it can really mess you up. You're not used to it because asphalt is made for racing. It is made to get grip on. Concrete, not so much. You come in there screaming and them tires are hot and little slick and they will just slide right through the pit stall every time.
Yeah, the track that's really bad is Daytona and Talladega. For some reason, the car just does not want to stop, mainly because it's got the small brakes. But it looks like we've got a tight battle between Seth and Jeff. Jeff's trying to make that pass down low.
He is indeed, and that is the battle for second position. And we talked about checking out from the field. Well, who's checking out is Dan West Jr. We're going to stick with this battle, but he has a 2.3 second lead over second and third place, so he is moving on right now, trying to get his win here before the holiday break.
I tell you, if we get a caution, Sean is definitely the fastest car on the track tonight. The self-inflicted pit stop strategy may come to haunt him because now he's got to make up all that time. But between him and Dan, those are the two fastest guys on the track, and it's fun watching Jeff and Seth battle us out. But again, Seth is forcing Jeff to have to take that inside line and get off the corners without spinning it.
He is indeed, and Jeff gonna try to get him on the backstretch here, and it's literally a drag race to the end. But it looks like Jeff Stabnow will eventually pull ahead of him. So, that's Michigan. This track is very different than most. It really is just two corners and two drag strips. I mean, that's essentially what it comes down to.
Indeed, and that was critical for Jeff to get that pass done because he's right at about that window where the tires start going to junk. So he needed to do it while his tires, and there he gets real loose off of two, trying to extend it, and he's going to have to do that all over again.
Yeah, you don't want to do it on old tires. Once you get on those 7+ tires, passing is hard to do, and you don't want to wreck yourself or anybody else in the process of doing it. Meanwhile, he is going to get back by Jeff Stabnow. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly he can get by him. Usually you don't see it happen that quick.
Yep.
Well, let's see. There we go. We've been waiting for this one particular person to type in chat who's been lurking. We knew they were there. And I don't know if you can see chat, but that is freaking Jen in there. A streamer on Twitch. Yes, we're going to give her a shout out while we're watching this battle. For the ones out there just looking for some just chatting and a little bit of a game of play as well, head on over to Twitch and look her up. So you can get in there. She got off a little bit before we went live, so I told her she had to come listen to me on chat. Actually, I told her not to listen to me, but she never listens to me anyway, so I don't know why she would start now, but a big shout out to her. An awesome streamer, so go check her out if you're out there lurking in chat or watching. Well, here comes Sean Brightsman. Now he's getting in there, and I have a feeling Sean Brightsman's going to be able to get by these guys a little bit quicker. One, he's got 2-lap fresher tires, and those who've been battling so long, their tires are just gone, and he's just basically capitalizing off of that right now.
Yeah, the two of them battling side by side definitely allowed Sean to close up. And Jeff, with the 2 attempts and getting loose both times, that definitely heated up those rear tires. So he's got to take a few laps, let the tire temps get back down. And the bad side of this is, as you said, a few laps ago, they were only 2.3 seconds back. And now, because they were battling side by side, they're now almost 4 seconds back. So they lost a lot of time. So being the leader, being Dan West, he was definitely loving seeing that taking place in his mirrors. But it's now getting dicey between the three of them.
It is, and that gap went from 2 seconds, or 2.2 seconds is what it was, to 4 seconds, over 4 seconds of a lead. So he has, drastically pulled away from them, and it's because, like you said, they're battling so hard that they're actually costing each other time. And, that's perfect for Dan West Jr. if you're out leading this thing. As we're on lap 40. You do the math, and we will be here next time by. Lap 40, 50, 60, 70. That gives us 35 laps to go. We're past the halfway point at this point, and he is loving this right now. All he needs to do is hit his marks, make a good second pit stop, and if it all cycles out good, he's sitting pretty for the win here tonight.
Yeah, that next pit stop's going to be critical. Sean's going to be making sure he doesn't make the same mistake, and Dan just needs to make sure he hit his marks.
Yeah, he definitely has to hit all of his marks perfect. And we're staying right here with these second, third, and fourth. We are going to go back a little ways, as there is another battle going on. Scott Hutchinson and Frank Harris in the 91 and the 12. 2 more little cars, 2 guys battling here in a little battle. But they're getting kind of spread out. There's just not a whole lot of action going on, but here and there are little battles creeping up all over this track.
Yeah, I'm also interested to see if we do get a caution, see what Chris and Brian can do, because they're putting down some good laps. They just had the misfortune early on in the race, so would really like from being up here in the booth with you, I'd really like to see a caution to see what the two of them can do to get thrown into this mix.
I definitely would. Of course, and if we get the caution, Casey Tillman could get his lap back. James Vining. Yeah, we get the lucky dog. James Vining could probably take the wave around. Dan Winneberg is back on the track. Heavy damage. Not even sure what happened to that 73 machine. Other than the fact that he looks like he went through a minefield at some point during this race, and I knew this track could be treacherous, but I didn't know it was that bad. But the front of that car and the sides look pretty beat up. Oh, he definitely got into something here early on in this race. Who hasn't gotten into anything, not lap traffic, not any of the cars, nothing. That is the 55 of Dan West Jr., who is still walking away. We're about 7 to 8 laps away from our second and final round of pit stops, though.
Yeah, it'll be interesting I wonder if anybody will pit like around the lap 48, 49. We've seen that 2 laps makes a big difference in lap time. You figure that'll be a 2 second, and the way the tires equal out relatively quickly, you could pit for pit stops. So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like Jeff or Sean, for that matter, pit around lap 48 to 49, just so that they can get out on fresher tires and make up a couple seconds.
Yeah, if I was them, I would. And then actually, right as I say that, they're going to make a liar out of me here on the track, as Dan West Jr. is actually catching the 07 of Dana Rogers. So right as I say that, Dan West Jr. has to make a liar out of me and start catching a lap car. And no surprise there, Dana Rogers is going to let him by fairly easy. It's kind of an unwritten rule. He doesn't technically have to let him by. But an unwritten sportsman code, let him by, that's just kind of the thing to do.
Yeah, and it looks like it's getting a little dicey between Casey Tillman and Jeff Stabno. Casey's on fresher tires, um, and wants to try and get his lap back. But Jeff is also wants to get around him so he makes sure he stays in contact with Sean, who is definitely closing that gap. It's now down to just over 3 seconds back from Dan West.
Yeah, he's definitely cutting away at that, and it's you know it's questionable if he's going to catch him here with 30 to go. He has started to catch him, but does he have enough time to catch him completely is the question. I don't 100% know yet if he's going to be able to.
Based on if I was Sean, and granted, by no means am I up at Sean's level, but if I was Sean, I would pit at lap 48. I'm closing him on the same tires. So if I can get in a couple laps early, get a 2 second on track position, that closes that gap up quite a bit. But at the same time, Dan could be just hitting his marks and not pushing and saving tires. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting. Again, and we still don't know. We have gone, there's been plenty, and I mean plenty of races where we have gone pretty much the entire race caution free, and then at the end of the race have those last caution, and then turn around and see another caution. So you have to plan for that. Fuel-wise, do you plan? What's your strategy? Are you planning on a green-white checker? 2 green-white checkers? Are you planning for none? That is all the stuff that these drivers have to plan out prior to coming into this race and know when they want to pit. Do they want a short pit? Do they want to maybe stay out a lap longer? It's a huge strategy game.
Yeah, since everybody has to do 2 stops, if they're pitting on lap 50, if a green-white checker comes out after you've got 25 laps on your tire, you're coming in, even if there's just going to be the 1 green-white checkers, everybody is coming in. You'll just be a sitting duck. And so, like for me, when if I was out there, green-white checker would not be coming. I wouldn't be worried about, okay, I got to make sure I need to save enough fuel to do a green-white checker, because if it comes out, I'm pitting anyways, along with everybody else that's out in this field.
Yeah, I am with you.
Casey Tillman, he is...
Oh, into the grass he goes, inside wall. But like you said earlier, though, there's a lot of free space down there.
Yep.
As he claims some of it, but he gets back on the track, and assuming he doesn't spin it trying to get above this white line right here, which looks like he's going to stay below long enough to get back up to speed, and that is exactly why we don't see cautions here very often, as the car looks like it needs to be in the pits and needed a caution, but the track says no. There's just too much real estate around this track. It's just not going to bring out a caution.
Yeah, and Seth Frazier pitted 1 lap early. Dan came in, and Sean followed right behind. He can't afford to stay out another lap beyond Dan. So Dan dictated what Sean and Jeff were doing right there.
Yeah, and that is one downside to being as far out from the leaders, from the rest of the field as you are if you're the leader. Like Dan West Jr., is they came down. Just that, not going to have a problem on pit road. He came down, and he's so far ahead that the people behind him have a lot of time to react. Meanwhile, if they're right on your back bumper, you can do it at the last minute and, short pit them, and there's not much they can do about it. When, you got a 4-second lead, you can't do that.
Indeed, and look who came out in front of Dan.
He did. Sean Breitzman gets out in front of him, and pit stops, again, could be crucial here. That could be a winning move here for Sean Breitzman in that 46 machine, as he was catching him, and now he's ahead of him after their last pit stop here tonight.
Yeah, the roles reversed. Dan had a problem on pit lane. I didn't see him have to back up, but he was definitely on pit road for 4 seconds longer. So, and I tell you, the other thing, Sean is brilliant at getting into pit lane. I've raced against him a couple times and had like a 3-second lead on him. Next thing I know, we're going down pit lane and he's right on my bumper, and I thought I hit my marks. And so he definitely practices, as we all should, knowing when to hit the brakes so you're at that pit lane speed right at the line.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. You have to practice this repeatedly over and over again. Practice makes perfect, so that is exactly what you have to do. You do not want to be out there and have a flawless race and then lose it on pit road. That is by far one of the last things that you want to have happen.
Yep. And so Dan's now sitting there going, okay, for 49 laps, he was saying no caution, no caution. Now you can hear him going, I need a caution, I need a caution, I need a caution.
Yeah, he's going to be begging for it right now. Scott Hutchinson is technically your race leader. He's coming down pit road, though. No surprise there. He's going to stay out, try to lead a lap, and he does lead two. Sean Brightsman, your race leader right there. So he comes to the line. We have 53 laps completed of the 75-lap race, and we have only technically been actually racing for about 45 minutes. This race going by super quick here.
Yeah, this is going to be, if we don't get a caution, which, again, because of the way this track is, this is going to be another quick night. The other thing is, we've all, like I was saying before, we've all raced with each other a number of times. We know each other's tendency. This is a long season. I think this is race, 31 of the season. And the 17 of us, with the exception of a couple, have raced every single way. It's the same guys. So we know what each other's tendencies are, and who to give room, who we can race hard against, who do we need to give a little bit more room, and knowing what their braking tendencies are, knowing how they take a corner side by side with somebody. So that has improved the quality of the racing throughout the course of the season, to where we're seeing more green flag runs. Earlier in the season, when we're all trying to learn each other and learning our braking points, yeah, we're probably going to have a little bit more cautions just because that familiarity is not there.
Yeah, definitely. The more you race, and yeah, like you said, a lot of these guys have been here. They've been here for years. This is what, like sixth or seventh season. Obviously, we haven't been here quite that long, but it's been a long season. These guys have been here, and it's growing every season. I remember when I started, there were a decent amount of drivers, but it has continually grown. There's always new people coming in left and right. So it's awesome to see all these new faces. Just this season, I believe, or last season, Dell Windenberg coming in. Mm-hmm. Some of these guys that I'd never seen. Scott Hutchinson, for matter. He's not necessarily new, but he has been racing more often as well. So that's good to see him racing as well.
Agreed. I mean, this is my first full season. I did a handful of races last year. Stepped away for a little bit just to get my own act into shape, and then committed to a full season this year, and it's been fun racing with these guys. That being said, I believe when we came out of the pit stop, Dan was about 2.5 seconds back, and he's closed it to about 1.4. So he's definitely closing. It's just going to be interesting to see how much he's abusing tires. Oh, we do have a spin and a caution.
Caution, number one, to be coming out for Casey Tillman, who already was loose, and he is doing everything he can to save that car, as he does save it from the inside wall. Let's go back and take a look and see what happened. Again, Casey Tillman bringing out the first and only caution here on lap 57, and I have a feeling it just got loose on him. Yep. It does. He gets too close to that yellow line, and around she goes, all the flaps coming up, and he does a good job of keeping it off of all the walls, almost nosediving right into the inside wall, but he does save it from any contact with any sort of wall. So that is good news that the car avoided and one piece, but they were just down pit road. We know they're probably going to come down again, so we're going to step away to a quick commercial break, and we will be right back.
Rises to the top.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, and we are ready to get this thing going again. We're going to get the party started one more time. We thought we'd had the candles blown out and all the cake eaten, but we found a spare cake in the back, so we're going to light the candles again on the backup cake and get this party started one more time. I just don't know. We may find another spare cake back there and have to start the party one more time. Maybe two. We'll see. 15 laps to go when we take the green. 35 roughly second, well, 39 second laps. It won't be long if we go green.
This is true. And Sean's taking the outside lane for this restart.
That is indeed a interesting choice, but he knows what's best for his car as the green flag is out and we are racing 15 laps to go. Here for Sean Brightsman. Again, your top five as they run: Brightsman, Stabnow, West, Frazier, and Ottenbacher. Your some five major heavy hitters. Six, actually, and seven if you count Barnes in the top seven right now.
Yep, and Brian is sitting there in seventh, so we've got three battles of two taking place.
Yeah, and those front two really getting close together. They're going to race each other clean, but I can promise you, teammates or not, they are going to race each other very hard for the race win. And it will come down to whoever can push the other one harder. As there goes Jeff Stabnow. He's almost gets into the outside wall. So does Sean Brightsman. That's going to slow him down a little bit, and you saw how quickly Seth Frazier and Dan West caught him there as Jeff Stabnow having to kind of veer way out from the outside wall.
Yeah, there's at this point of the season, there's no team orders. They're going to, especially when you've got to get that win to end, and both of them realize that this is a tough field, so it's going to be tough. Sean's going to be going to try and make Jeff make a mistake, which is tough to do.
Yeah, Jeff does get ahead of him, but look at them, bumper to bumper right now. You would think they were glued together here on lap 63 of 75. We are coming up on 10 to go here before you know it. And I'm with you. We were talking about it before we went live here on the mic. I don't think we're out of the woods for the caution, but these guys may try to prove us wrong, if I can speak tonight. As our Hanover Wrecker Service caution information of the night, one caution for 4 laps, 7 different leaders. And if we don't get a caution out of these front three right now, I will be highly shocked. They are just weaving and wobbling, and they're all over the place right now. And they're doing a good job of it, but boy, it looks scary if I was in their shoes.
Yeah, it looked like Sean may have gotten a push from Seth, and Seth's going to try and follow behind him as they try and get around Jeff. Are they going to try and take it 3 wide?
I'm beginning to think they were, but Seth Frazier's were on board with him. Thinks better of that. He says, I think I'm good. I'm not going to force that issue, and he doesn't. Probably a good move as he's right there. And now it's going to be Sean Brightsman that I think is going to lead that lap. Yes, he does. Sean Brightsman still your race leader. Seth Frazier really at this point just trying to pick the lane I think that he thinks is going to be the lane to go with.
Yeah, and if I'm sitting there with, as John, it's like, okay, something happens to the three of them in front of you. You've got a free, and they are going to take it 3 wide into 3.
That is a scary, scary thought. It's look at Seth Frazier. He's getting a 2 for 1.
Nope.
And apparently that 2 for 1 had a bad credit card because the sale didn't go through, as he's going to have to keep digging and try one more time. Sean Brightsman's still the race leader. I don't really know. It doesn't matter who wins out of these 3 if they don't wreck each other in the process. I think they're going to have some stories out of this race to have some great stories to talk about.
And look who just joined the party.
Here comes John Ottenbacher, and I wouldn't be surprised if Dan West's going to get in there too.
White and Brian.
The more these guys sit here and battle with 10 laps to go, the more they're going to catch him. So a lot of drivers kind of creeping into the picture here. As again, that is a product of this track. You race each other that hard, and all of a sudden you're like, where did the rest of this field come from?
Yeah, going 3 wide will definitely kill the lap times and allow everyone behind you. Not to mention the big wall of air that's being created.
I will honestly say we've been here for, 28, 29 races at this point in the season. This is probably some of the best racing we have seen all season long. And it's involving 3 to 6 different cars.
Oh, this is the entire field. Like I said, the playoffs, I love the playoff system because it really ratchets up the intensity at the end of the season. And you can see all these guys are just itching to have something happen.
Yeah, they definitely are. And we do, of course, we'll look at those point standings just to give you an idea. Brian Barnes is back here currently in 6th position. Oh, as he gets into the wall, and that's going to cause Chris White, is that? It is. Chris White going to get hit. As I was just about to say, Chris White was in the picture, but caution is going to come out here with 8 laps to go. And I do believe that was for the 83 of Chris White.
Actually, it might have been for Dale. Dale was down on the backstretch. Chris White may have triggered it and may have caused a reaction for Dale.
We'll go back and take a look. I believe you are right. Yeah, and you're right there. Gets into it and then sideways on the track into the inside wall, and that will bring out what is only the 2nd caution of the night. And I don't know if this is going to classify as a green-white checker, but we're going to have about 3 to go when we take the green.
Oh, and everybody will be coming in for tires. They've got about 11 laps, so everybody will be coming in.
Yeah, again, I agree with you. Everyone will be coming in to take 4 tires. I'm not sure if they'll top out on fuel. They may get a little splash just in the event we do have a green-light checkered. But I definitely think they'll be coming down for tires. Somebody... this is too many. If you had maybe like a 2-lap shootout, maybe I might gamble it if you had nothing else to lose. If you were already out of the chase, just trying to get a win. But if you got the chase on the line, I'm not gambling. I'm coming down, and everybody does, but Casey Tillman. But he's 1 lap down. No surprise there. He can't come down. Everybody that can is coming down pit road.
Indeed, and at this point of the race, if there were to be another caution before we get to green flag, that's where it'll be interesting to see who comes down, if anybody takes 2 tires or not. But this is a critical stuff for everybody. Track position is going to be critical.
And track position is huge here. And Sean Breisman in the 46 machine, he's going to take 4 tires and fuel. And so far, I don't see anybody trying to gamble with 2 tires stop. And
I think Jeff may have.
14.4.
No, 14.7. No, he took tires.
4 tires, and he actually comes out as your race leader. So Jeff Stab now out front. It's followed by Seth Frazier, Sean Breisman, John Ottenbacher, and Scott Hutchinson. Going to be your top 5 drivers after that caution again. Only our 2nd caution for 6 laps. And speaking of the caution, pull up your track information from Bulletproof Tees here at Michigan. A 2-mile track, 150 miles. This track is 107 degrees.
It's a little toasty.
It's not the hottest we've seen. We've seen upwards of 130, but 107 degrees. That's hot enough here. 11:30 or 11:15 at night. That's hot enough we can fix a little breakfast out on it.
And considering the amount of speed that you're carrying on this one, and again with these cars as loose as they are, 107 degrees is still a hot track to deal with and try and muscle these cars around. Looking at the lap times, the pit stop times, Jeff was the one that had the great on and off pit lane times. The pit stops themselves were pretty comfortable, but Jeff was able to get on and off about 1.5 seconds faster than the rest of the field.
He was indeed 14.4 seconds. 38.4 for overall stop. So good stop for him. The lights are still on the pace car, so obviously we're going to take one more lap here. and the laps are winding down. So I do believe it is going to be a green-white checkered here. I'm not sure. I can't see the interface here for iRacing. Is it showing that we're going to go into the first attempt at a green-white checkered, or is this just going to be a standard finish as we run?
This looks like it's going to be a standard run right now.
Should be interesting. Not a green white checkered. We do have 2 scheduled attempts at a green white checkered here tonight. Hopefully we don't have to use them. Usually when we have to, stuff goes even worse than it already was. And there's a certain word that we can't use on the stream. Actually, I don't think it's really that bad a word anymore. But let's just say it's going to hit the ceiling fan if we have to go to green white checkers. It tends to lead to that happening. So let's just cross our fingers that we don't go into that. But Jeff Stabnow setting himself up for a victory, as the lights should go off this time. They do. So it is going to be 3 to go when we take the green flag.
The loser on that pit cycle, though, unfortunately, was Dan. He lost a lot of track position on that stop. For somebody that was dominating the first two thirds of this race, and is now back in 7th place, and a lot of talented drivers in front of him. It's going to be tough for him to pull this one off.
Yeah, that is. If I'd lose my voice here, that is going to be a very tough challenge to get his way back to the front. Again, if we see a caution come out here before the white flag is taken by the leader, and it takes out a couple of these cars in the front, he could still net a top 5 finish, maybe even a top 3. But obviously the win is what he wanted. And I'm not going to say it's impossible, but being as far back as he is in 8th place with 3 to go, it's not impossible, but it's going to be difficult, to say the least.
And James was able to get back on the lead lap by getting that wave around, so...
Well, so almost everybody on the lead lap except for Dana Rogers and Dale Winterberg, but the pace car does dive off, which means we are lighting the candles one more time. Green flag's out, and we are racing.
Wow,
Jeff
what a
Stabnow.
start.
Yeah, that was a great start for Jeff Stabnow. That's exactly what he needed. He needed to get a good jump. He needs to get ahead of Sean Brightsman, because I think Sean Brightsman, if he had a good start, he would be able to catch him very quickly. So this gives him a little bit of a padding. Plus, Seth Frazier is breathing down Sean Brightsman's neck right now. We'll see if he can make it happen here. Jeff Stabnow obviously would love to get a win going into the break. And I do recall he is one of the drivers. He is outside the top 4 right now, -2 points. So he may be in it either way, but obviously he would love to be locked into it and not just in it on points.
Yeah, I tell you, that restart is probably the race-winning move. I haven't seen a car start like that off a restart like he did. That thing was a rocket ship off the line. It looks like they're coming to the white flag.
It was indeed white flag going to be coming out for Jeff Stabnow. So he's kept it clean and cool under pressure here so far. As you see, the white flag does come out. He started first, and he's going to possibly finish there if he can hang on to this car for right now. 2 more corners in the backstretch of this track. I think he's going to be able to do it. He has 2 corners to go.
That clean air just has definitely made it. It's a tight battle for second place because the points are still going to matter.
It is indeed. We're watching that battle as well. Meanwhile, we go to Jeff Stabnow. And there it is. There, your race winner tonight going to be the 24 of Jeff Stabnow, followed by Seth Frazier Sean Breitzman, John Ottenbacher, Brian Barnes, Chris White, Dan West Jr., Scott Hutchinson, Stephen Paulson, Frank Harris, James Vining, Ray Fournier, Casey Tillman, Dana Rogers, Dell Winneberg, Dan Stuzzi, and of course then James Thurston here in the booth with us. That's going to be your race results here for tonight. Jeff Stabnow going to be celebrating. We'll go watch him do his half donut smash the back of the car up. He does it just because we mention it every time. But he's going to go do his, I don't even know if I'd call it a donut, more like a horseshoe. But we'll watch him do that and probably get obliterated by his teammate here in a minute. But we're going to let him do that. Meanwhile, we are going to go round up your top three. We'll be talking to Jeff Stabnell, Seth Fraser, and Sean Breitzman here in just a few moments. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back and we have caught up with our top three drivers. We had drugged them up to the booth, literally. We just picked them up and drug them in here. And we are going to hand things over to James Thurston here. Not James Vining, but James Thurston, who has our third place driver, Sean Breitzman, driving that 46 machine here tonight.
John, outstanding race. I was watching as we were watching the first part of that. You definitely had the fastest car on the track. Tell us how you were keeping that car going during the first part of it.
I just kind of riding for the first part of the fuel run there, first run, trying to get a feel, seeing what the car was going to do on the long run. Wasn't completely sure, but it was good on the long run, and it felt pretty good. I was able to save a lot of tire.
And it looked like your first pit stop, you had a little bit of where you slid through it and had to get back, and then you were in chase mode after that, chasing down Dan. What was going through your mind as you were as you left pit lane on that one, trying to chase down Dan?
Censored word. No, it was just a big mistake there. Didn't get to pit road in time or properly, and then slid through my stall, and from there it was chase mode, like you said, and I was just trying to run him down as quick as I could, try to get in that window behind him where if I pit and I get a good pit stop, I can leapfrog him hopefully and take the lead.
And it looked like you were definitely closing it. And then lastly, With this being the chase race with only 3 races to go, those closing laps with 6 or 7 of you battling it out for that win, how intense was that?
Chat was silent. Like there was no talking really, well, other than a 3 wide call to let him know. Jeff was on the outside, I was in the middle, and Seth was inside there. So other than that, just to let Jeff know, so he didn't try to take the normal line. It was pretty dead silent until that caution came out, and we all were like, "Oh my gosh, it's great!"
Well, it was great calling the race, watching those final laps. Wish I could have been out there with you guys, but it was a fun race. Given that, I know you've got some people to thank. So who do you got to thank for this race today?
I just got to give it up to Wicked Chassis Racing, Walls Beard Co., Central Welding Supply, Virtual Racing Network, and you, James, for joining Cody in the booth with your injury, and hopefully you get better soon.
That is the plan. I do want to get. I enjoy being up here with Charles, but I'd much rather be in the car. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to bring us to our second place driver, and I like talking to him. That is Seth Frazier, driver of the 32 machine. And he puts it in second place here tonight. Seth, we usually ask that question, do you think you had anything for whoever won? But really, there were several people up front here. So there was really no one person, other than maybe Dan there for a little bit, that continually was up front. It was a huge battle, especially those last probably 20 laps or so. What was it like up there battling with Sean and Jeff? Y'all were 3 wide at one point. I was almost determined y'all were going to have a crash at some point.
Well, the first time we went to go 3 wide, I wasn't planning on keeping it in there. I was just hoping maybe they'd screw up and push up the track and create an opportunity Alpha 4. The second time I had a good enough run that I tried to do a slide job. I'd rather be on the outside than the bottom here, especially on a longer run. So I wasn't really where I wanted to be, but there was really nowhere else to go. So that's just kind of how it worked out.
Well, it was definitely insane out there. Obviously, these are fixed setups here. So, is there a particular line on this track that this setup likes more than the other?
I think you could get away with running the bottom a little more on a long run, but or on a short run. But after a few laps, you kind of had to move up the track and kind of run about the middle of the track or so. In 3 and 4, the line didn't change as much, but in 1 and 2, for me, I had to move up the track as the run went on.
Well, definitely. It was a crazy night. Only 2 cautions, I really believe, is what it was. Probably one of the lowest cautions we've seen here other than caution-free. Probably one of the best night of racing as far as action goes that we've seen all season long, as the season comes to an end, of all things. But you get second place here tonight, a good points night for you going into the off the week here for the Thanksgiving break. Any shout-outs you need to give and spots you need to thank for that second place finish?
Just my buddy Mike Wood back in Middlesex, North Carolina, for painting up a bunch of cars for all of us, and all you guys for putting the show on.
All right. Well, again, congrats on second place. And you're in luck, Jeff, as he is your race that we're going to hear tonight. I'm not going to be interviewing, so we're going to hand it back over to James. He doesn't have Grammy music, so Jeff, you are in luck here tonight.
Jeff, congratulations on the win. Those closing laps were outstanding. It looked like early on in the race you were having some challenges getting off of 2 and 4 with the looseness of the car. How loose was those after the tires wore in?
So that first run, that track really took a huge temp swing. I think we started this at around 120 some degrees and we ended at about 106. And so the way the cars drove actually took a huge swing. So early, that first run, I just overdrove it. I was up there trying to kind of stay ahead of Dan, and John was kind of pressing there a little bit, and Seth came into the picture, and I used up those rear tires. I was ridiculously loose on that first run. So I was. There was a couple times where I wasn't sure I was going to be able to save it, but there was quite a few times where I had to get rear end. Second run, same thing. I didn't use them up as bad. I was too loose to make passes. I think I got stuck behind Seth there a little bit. I thought I was a little faster, but I just couldn't stick that rear end enough to get around him. and then I'd try, and then here comes somebody else by me. So it was fun, though. I mean, I love that kind of racing. And the third run there, track cooled a little bit, and I had a hot rod there. But Kosher came out, grouped us back up, gained some spots in pit road, and plenty of luck involved there, and somehow I came away with the win out of that.
Yeah, we were noticing when you came into the pits, you were right on Sean's rear bumper going into pit lane, and you came out with the lead. How critical was that pit stop that you needed to get out in front?
That one was extremely critical. With a 3-lap run to the finish, I knew that controlling the start was going to be huge. So that one was just super critical. The one before it, I actually gained 2 spots. I think that might have been the big one that got me up in the front row with Sean. Then we had the second pit, and I actually was able to get ahead of him in the pit. So there at the end, I made all my passes in the pits, and I'll take it. Usually that's where I lose the race.
And being, I'm up in the booth. I'm not one of the drivers, so what's your secret to those restarts? Because that restart on that final green flag it was like you were shot out of a cannon from up in the booth. So what's your secret for those?
No secret. Just push that pedal through the floor and flex your muscles and grip that steering wheel as hard as you can. Grit your teeth. Don't breathe. Whatever you do, don't take a breath.
There you go. I'll have to remember that next time I get up there. So again, congratulations on the win. This gets you locked into the playoffs. With 2 races to go, the intensity is just going to get ratcheted up even more, especially in this series where there's 7 or 8 guys that can win these races week in and week out. So would imagine that's going to make Thanksgiving a little bit easier for you to enjoy that turkey.
Oh, this was huge. I can tell the teammates. I told everybody this is pretty much the one I have to win. I felt like to get into the playoffs. Just not good enough at Dover to count on winning that. And there's a lot of guys in this one that are real good at Chicago. So I had a lot of pressure on myself to get this one. So definitely going to enjoy Thanksgiving.
Well, very good. Again, congratulations. I know you got a few sponsors on the car. Who would you like to thank for this race?
Well, first of all, we got to go with Walsby Co., sponsor of the car, the team, the series. Since its inception, sponsor of VRN. So just kind of a huge supporter of iRacing. VRN, as always, just an amazing partnership we have and a great show that we get put on here every week. I absolutely can't wait to go back and rewatch this race, particularly the end of that. That was nuts. Big shout out to Dan West. I know he's not here in the booth, but man, he had a rocket tonight. And, it would have been interesting to see if he could have caught Sean there at the end. I know he kind of screwed up on that green flag pit stop, and that may have cost him, but he was so fast. Big shout out to Seth and Sean. That was amazing with everything that we had on the line for us to be able to go 3 wide like that at the end of the race and not even bump each other. I mean, we stuck it. That was just fantastic racing and a blast. So, and then of course, big shout out to everybody in the series. This is just such a fun league to run. So, thanks, guys.
All right, well, that is going to wrap it up here for tonight. We want to thank everybody that tuned in here tonight, hung out there with us in the chat as well. We hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and all of that other good stuff that you can do on YouTube. That is going to do it here for us tonight. All we got to say is we'll see you all in 8 days with some World of Thunder as we are going to enjoy Thanksgiving break. And we will see you for some dirt track racing for World of Thunder and next Wednesday. Until then, stay safe. And, again, have a good holiday.